Welcome everyone, this is Corey Babka from the Marks Group Live. Excited to be here today teaching data administration within Zoho CRM. So that's TMGC-209 in the class list. If by chance you ever want to check out the other classes, there is a link at the top underneath calendar that actually is all of our training classes and their descriptions. Just a little side note. But we're here live and in person teaching this class today. Today what we're going to cover is the following. We're going to learn how to import data from another CRM system. We're going to export data from a specific module. We're going to learn to evaluate your system storage. And we're going to restore or permanently delete data from the recycle bin. Kind of learn how to use the recycle bin, right? And so let me just make sure that we've got sound here. Just want to test that out. I do have it here, so I've got my computer on mute, so I can't hear myself. Okay, there we go. Let's see if we got it. So based on that, unmute this page. Okay, and we do have it. Good. Okay. So based on good, just watching it, making sure that we're all following along. We've had some microphone issues in the past. I just want to make sure we don't kind of mess that up. Okay, so we're going to be talking about restoring the recycle bin within Zoho, which is a nice unique piece to Zoho. A couple other systems have it as well. And then we're also going to learn to review the audit log is what it is. Okay, so basically we're going to spend about 45-60 minutes going over the topic matter, the classwork today, opening the last 45 to 60 minutes up to Q&A is what it's going to be. We use the chat window on the right-hand side, which I'm monitoring throughout the class, as well as at the very end, to allow for that chat to go back and forth. But like I said, use the chat, and I can answer any of the questions you have. You know, it's on the right-hand side of the screen for most devices. Some devices, it's a little bit lower. Okay. Like I said, we're also going to use that last hour to expand on anything, any of the topics we covered, any questions that I didn't answer during the class, etc., etc. Okay. If on a mobile device, there should be a chat window available as well, but it's going to be all the way down usually. Okay. If by chance you are logging in by Facebook, there's a small bug with the hosting company, which may cause the chat window to disappear. Never fear. All you have to do is reload the page, and then it will start. It will show up again, and you'll be fine. Okay, and I'll know who you are by name, etc., etc. Okay. If having any resolution or speed issues, please click the gear icon in the lower right corner of your screen of the video. I recommend you leave it on auto, is what it is usually by its setting, but sometimes if your bandwidth is not so great, you can lower it. Might make the screen a little blurrier, but you're going to get less choppiness with the audio and video. Okay. Also, feel free to download and follow along with our class documentation. There is a link if you scroll down the page a little bit. There is a link. Unfortunately for this class, we haven't finished it just yet. Bear with us. If you do, and if you're interested in having that read-along documentation, drop me an email at the email that I'm going to provide for you. And you'll see it in a second, the support@marksgrouplive.com. If you drop me an email and say I need the document for 209, we'll get it right to you as soon as we're done. Okay? That's about it. Like I said, the document's not really a user manual, but it's more of a guide to help you along. And so let's get to it. And that's about it. All right. So the main screen here, we're going to go right into our Zoho. That's what we're looking at. And by doing this here, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the setup and spend most of our day in the setup area is what we're actually going to do. All right. And as we go through it, let's see, I'm just moving things around on my screen a little bit just so I have best sense of, you know, the chat window and all that. Bear with me a second while I get my housekeeping in order, but we should be all set now. Essentially what we're looking at is the data administration piece of the setup window, right? So if I go to setup, which if you're in CRM Plus, it is a gear icon. If you're using Zoho 1, it's going to be this little wrench and a screwdriver. And what we're going to do here, we're going to go through just like this, right? We're going to go through the data administration all the way through. All these items today is what we're going to go through one by one and kind of just go through it and explain it a little bit better. Use some items that I know from my past. Use some experience and help you out and see what we can do there. I mean, that's That's what our goal would be, okay? So, you know, without further ado, right, let's just kind of rip right into it, right? So the first one is actually consider the import, but if you've attended one of these before, if you've explored the area, you're going to find that it's really not. It's kind of they should be calling it data migration instead, because that's what it is. It's truly the data migration piece if you're trying to migrate large sets of data into your instance, right? If I were to do a true import, I would go to like leads, and I hit the import button, right? I click this, and where it says import leads or import notes, and you have a CSV file or whatever it is. Now, from other CRMs, I can do this, right? And I can say Salesforce and say next, and you'll notice we're going to get to here. Now let's go back a little bit. Go to our data administration import. If I say we're migrating, see, I don't want to do this. I want to actually go back and say view status. It's not really happening right now. It's not there, and we're in the same spot, right? So if I go back and we cancel that out, I'm going to go back into here so you can see the menu on the left. It's really weird. We always lose that menu whenever we kind of click into this section and go back. I don't know if it's a bug on their side or something I'm doing wrong, but we always seem to lose the menu. But what we've got is, and you can even see our import history. See that? We've got contacts, imported sample. That was done earlier. Looks like just a couple weeks ago, right? I think that was during our not our data administration, but our import-export. There's another class that we have that's based specifically on that. And you can always check the archive for it, because the archive does have those videos, the past videos that we've done, and I know it's in there. So if we look at the import, I've got options of doing other CRM systems. As of right now, the logos that you see are the ones that they can do it really easily. Now, I got to tell you, this is very nice, because I'm always amazed at whenever we do a project, a Zoho project, that certain pieces of the data migration go pretty quickly, right? And I'm kind of the guy that quotes them, right? I quote data migration. And I'm used to doing Salesforce and Goldmine and Microsoft CRM. Those are the three of the other products we do. And in doing this with Zoho, you know, my lead for Zoho, Suzanne, some of you have done a class with her before, she'll always quote migration is fairly low. And I'm always like, no, get out of here. It can't be that low. But it's because of this, because there's a process in place here that you can migrate from certain ones. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not great if you're coming outside of this, but it's essentially the same process. Like if I do Salesforce here, which I do happen to know, and I go into this, it says drag and drop the files that you want, okay? Now, again, only CSV files are supported. What's interesting is I don't get to a point where I'm doing like a data mapping. You know, it's not necessarily like go here, click a button and have it migrate. It doesn't really work like that. What I'm doing instead is I could do like a Salesforce export of my entire backup or my entire database, back it up into a zip file, and I would get a CSV file for every object inside of Salesforce, right? Which in Zoho we call them modules. But like I could get the leads, accounts, contacts, and opportunities inside of Salesforce, and I could bring them in as leads, accounts, contacts, and deals into Zoho. And what happens is you drag those files into here, and then there's the field mapping, and then other mapping, of course, and then you review it and you do the finish. And that migration just kind of happens, and it does work. Now, I can't really do it here to show live, which is kind of a detriment, I know. It's kind of a sad thing that I can't do it for you. Number one, it would take a little bit of time, and we could spend an entire hour just watching me map fields and such. Number two, I don't want to take my entire Salesforce database and dump it into here. Right? This is my sample database, this is my demo database, so I don't really want to get real data in there. So that's what it is. But a couple things to keep in mind. We do have, there's an ability that you can do a zip file, right? And so you can drag a zip file into here that has all of your, all the things right in there. You can have all your CSV files in one zip file, I should say, right? There's also, if we look at this, see, I want to get to the help. because there's my help. See, that help disappeared. When I lose this, I lose the help. And the help is really, really nice to look at. Okay, it walks you through how to do it. It talks about things about what you can do, because you could do a zip file, right? File size, be careful, because you're limited on what you can do for CSV. You can also do a zip file there where the data files are all in there. See, it says here data files from Salesforce. The reason why is because that's how Salesforce does a backup. If I went to Salesforce and did an entire dump of Salesforce, it would come in one big zip file, and every file in there would be a CSV to a different object. Zoho is built beautifully to handle that. Okay. You can also do it as well from other CRMs. So if you can do it, you can build your own zip file. There's also an attachment folder, which is what you're going to want. That's a different file set. So if you want to have attachments linked into your document or your records, you're going to want to do that, but there's going to be a linkage of where does it go, whether it's a lead record or how that's kind of set up. But it says the attachments folder should contain the source files used as attachments, and that's fine, right? And then it will allow you to map it in. You're going to have some sort of unique identifier, though, to link that attachment up. Otherwise, it'll just be floating. Okay. So crucial, blah, 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 tabs or modules cannot be migrated as a whole, okay? But what you can do is if it doesn't find it, like if I was to export my security tab in Salesforce, Zoho doesn't have that. So what it's going to do is during this process, it's going to say, do you want to create a separate module? And it will take my fields and it will create something from it, and I will create a custom module during that import. It's very, very helpful. Many times you might want to do that first, like to do this data migration. Okay? It will suggest custom fields, fields at the file, fields in the, what are you going to call it, what kind of, it's smart enough to know what it is, right? It'll kind of analyze it, right? You got some check boxes. What do you want to do there? They're ones and zeros. Salesforce, it's true or false, so it looks like that works just fine too. Characters not allowed. This is critical. Okay, the vertical bar, that's a big one. Okay, angle brackets, and the double quotes. That is truly because of it's HTML in a way, right? That's where the brackets come in and the vertical bar. But these double quotes, because you're doing a CSV where the double quotes actually delimit the entire field, you're going to get wonky. So I know Megan was talking about an example where people were using the double quotes to say inches. So they'd say 5 feet 6 inches, and they'd say 5 single quote 6 double quote, and that was kind of hosing up the works. So what she had to do was, before she did an import, had to go in, take your CSV file, edit it in Notepad or Excel. We'll open Excel just fine. Google Sheets, whatever you want, and change it, right? And just do a Control H or a find and replace, and just kind of swap those out. That's what it does, right? Users you cannot migrate, all right? Only the users, only when the users close their separate account, they can import it, so you have to be careful there. There's a little bit of a checklist item there you got to do. Mandatory fields, you got to make sure that all those are being filled in, okay? If there's no values, the corresponding record will be ignored. That's big. So if I don't have everything in there, that row is going to get skipped. That can be a problem, all right? Drop-down list, they must exist, which is very different if you're going the opposite. Into Salesforce, they'll actually take any value, but here they must match up. Okay? I've actually had a lot of problems with migrations before. If someone changes the drop-downs, or they do an ampersand and the word is and inside the drop-down, it will fail, and that's a problem. The row will go in, but that field will be blank. Okay? First row has to contain the header, which is fairly normal. Field names, blank rows, right? More than 10 will indicate the end. Be careful. All right, and then always migrate the user details. Then you can make sure the owner field is mapped. See, owner is big, so if you want to do users first, that's what I would always do. I'd actually do users manually if you can. I wouldn't import users, and then you can match them up, right? And that's what you've got. See, this is kind of matching up there. Owner ID versus owner ID. You can see there's a number there. That's the code, right? Okay. Scrolling down a little bit more, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you can see here what you've got. There's an entire checklist, and it's really worth looking at before you do anything, okay, with that, and that the help is a really nice piece, right? But you've got Salesforce, you've got Zoho, another instance of Zoho. This one is weird because it's the same thing. You'd think there'd be a better mapping, but there's not. So you kind of have to, you're stuck doing the same type of backup, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Microsoft, Pipedrive, and Sightly, Zoho Contact Manager. It's kind of like a CRM Lite. Actually, let's call it CRM very, very light, because all it is accounts and contacts, or people, right? But it is a contact manager. It's a nice Rolodex file or product that's out there if you're interested. High-rise, and then any other CRM. Again, we go into the same process. So if I wanted to get Goldmine, something like that, I could do that. And that's what I've done before. I provide Goldmine data to Suzanne, and she takes it and she migrates it in. Okay, so you can see what that is there. But again, import, not really. It's not really the import. It's data migration, but for some reason they haven't changed the name. Okay, export. So moving right along, and again, any questions, please use the chat, pop it out, type in any questions. I'm checking it. I'm seeing it as we go. You know, just want to make sure I don't miss anything. There is about a 5 to 10 second delay depending on your internet speed. So if it's too late that I see the chat, I'll just leave it to the end. All right. Moving on to the export. Okay, so this page helps you export data as a CSV file. Again, CSV. Why? Because Macs can open them. Windows machines can open them in Excel. You know, Google Chrome boxes can open them. Google Sheets can open them, Excel, you know, I mean, CSV is pretty common, right? But a maximum 3,000 records, right? Now, if you want to export your data to analyze it or back it up, now it's something else. Let's not jump ahead, that's next, okay? But right now we're going to do the CSV. So if I go here and I say, what do I want to export? Now you see everything in here. These are all of my product, all of my modules, okay? Even users, right? There's my leads. Users, anything, any custom module as well. See if we have any in here. I think we've built them before. I'm looking. I think jobs might be a new one. I don't know. I know equipment was one that was new, and I'm not seeing that in here. But we might have deleted it because we're trying to keep this as clean as possible. But what you do is you'd go into here and you'd find it. Or you can search. You know, you can say equip. Oh, there it is. There's equipment. Okay, I'm going to go to leads just so you can see like what a few rows look like. And all I do is do export, and that's it. Say, are you sure? And I say yes. There's my download. Open this up. It's going to be on my other screen. I'll bring it over to you in a second. It's a CSV file. I have a Windows PC. Windows PC automatically knows I need to do Excel. And so there it's opening up. As you can see, it's also doing protected view because it is a download as normal. And I'm not seeing it. I'm wondering why it's taking so long. So we're going to let that run for a second. Okay. Not sure why it's taking so long to open. I'm going to open it again. Could have been that I moved the screen, which, you know, I shouldn't have done that. There's my lead. There it is. Starting, opening protected. Here it is. So this is my file, right? You can go here. You can see the lead ID, right? Now, those of you that understand data imports, exports, you know here that what I can do is I could actually start to edit these and clean up my records. And because of this record here, which is the lead ID, I could do an update instead of an import. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's actually a really nice way of doing things that you could do. Here's lead owner ID, which is me. Like this actually translates to a user. But what you end up with is this going on here, that this lead, as long as you leave this intact, if we were to update things and use this file, we could do that and we'd be fine, right? That's the way you kind of import the data. Again, if I was to go to, let's go back to leads, and I was to say import, right, import leads, well, I could browse for my file, which would be my downloads, right? Put it in there, and I say next. Now I'll say select layout, which is the standard one. I want to update existing only based on the lead ID, right? Don't update empty values. And then I could say, and I could put it in there. So as long as I have that lead ID, I can do what's called a match import or an update is what it would be. Now, if I do both, I could do an insert, and then if there was a lead there, a lead ID, then it would do a match and an update. Kind of confusing, a little bit beyond, or not beyond what we're doing today, but just outside the scope. But I wanted to touch on it briefly so you know at least where to go look. Okay. Back to export, again, pretty straightforward, not a big deal. Okay. Going on to data backup. Now this one is a little bit different. Okay. This one, as I understand it, it has to do with your subscription level as to what am I doing with it and how, you know, how often does, you know, am I able to do it? Okay. Like it says here, right at the top, you can't get clearer than that. It says my subscription covers 2 free backups, right? If I click on the help, I wonder if it's going to tell me. There it is. So this is here. So for free, Zoho free, you get $10 for every backup. Okay, so it's not really free, right? Standard, we've got 2 free backups, I guess a month. And then, and actually, God, if you look at this, standard, professional, and enterprise is all the same, unless I'm reading this wrong. It's 2 free backups plus $10 plus $10 plus $10, right? And so what you do is the ultimate, you get 4. So ultimate edition, even then you only get like what, once a week, okay? So I'm twice a month because of my subscription level. So I would say I want to have it twice a month, or I could do once a month. And I'm going to say every Friday, right? Every alternate Friday, okay? The logs are right here. When did it do it last? It did it September 11th was the last time we did it, which was kind of, I think, the last time we ran this class. So about 3-4 weeks ago. And so what we got here is twice a month, Friday, done is what I would do, right? And so by doing that, it's going to be set now. And this is just going to happen, okay? It's scheduled successfully. That's fine. I can close that out. And then I'll see the log, and this is what happens. And so what it does is it will email me a zip file, I believe. Some systems do it a little differently. I believe this is an emailed zip file or a link to the zip file. It might be stored on the actual cloud server, but that's what it is. And it's a zip file that would have all those CSV files of the different modules. So if I wanted to run away with it, move it somewhere else, or migrate it into another Zoho instance, I could do so, right? This is only an administrative, I mean, I should have said that in the beginning of the class. This is the admin user series, so therefore, as you can tell, everything that we're doing today, you need to have some, you know, some level of admin right? You have to have an administrative rights. In this case here, the backup is that way, that you need to have the administrative right. It's going to send to whoever schedules it, but again, you have to be the person that is actually setting it up, okay? And that's your data backup, right? And now I'm just going to stop it. Actually, you know what? I may do it, because it says it's going to be available for 2 days, and it's going to be October 5th. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's stop it. And then we're going to just say twice a month, and we're going to make it today and say done. We're going to do this instead. I want to see if I get it. Okay. If I get it during our Q&A section, I'll look to see if I could find it and what it looks like, and we'll come back into the session. Okay. If not, I'll still be waiting for it. We'll see when it comes. Sample data, moving right along. Sample data is it's just what it sounds like, okay? See, my latest backup is running. It takes a few minutes. Oh, it's ready for download. Now, I'm actually going to see if my email, if I got an email too. There it is. We have uploaded your complete CRM data and attachments to your Zoho CRM account. To download these files, please log in and click on the following links. So what happens is it actually sits, I'll show it to you, actually I can show you right now. Let me just open my email. And so that backup did happen already. And granted, the reason why is because if we look at the storage here, see how small things are? I mean, I don't have much, so it doesn't take long to do it. We're going to get to this in just a little bit. So my data backup, if I look at my backup here, I look at the email, I get this right here. It says, please upload your complete, if we've uploaded it, please log in. So if I do this here and click on this, I'm going to go into there, and there's my zip file right away. It just automatically downloaded. And if I say open, you can see here is my folder, data, and here are all my commas separated. Okay, leads, layout, invitees, equipment, everything's in here. Metadata, fields, modules, custom stuff. You can see everything's in there. Roles, profiles, field data. If I look at this here, this is an Excel file. This will show you what all my custom fields are, right? What's the label? What's the API name? What's the length? Okay. Related to all these different things. What are they? Okay. And the module ID is a little bit different. So you can see these are all 193. These are 195, 2195, 2201. Yeah, see, all a little bit different. And that is, so my point is everything is getting backed up. Throw this on your server somewhere and you're good. Okay, that's what that is there. I'm going to actually stop the backup because there's no need to do that. I actually like the fact that if we do it at the time of the class, you can see it right away. But that's what you should be expecting. Okay. Back to sample data. So back to sample data here, what we're looking at is, do I want to remove this? So if I go here and I just say sample, okay, I get follow-up on samples and on-site meeting. See, nothing tells me that this is a sample data, right? If I go to my account records, let's go look. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom and see if there's something in here. Actually, let's go to, I think this is sample. Now, how do I know that? I truly don't know, but they do. July 3rd, that's when we started. Looking to see if there's anything in here that flags it as sample data, but I'm not seeing it. But somehow they know what is the data that came with it, okay, what came with your system. And that's important. So if I go to here, and I know Microsoft Dynamics has the same functionality. I don't know if Salesforce does, that you can say, I want to remove the sample data. Goldmine, for instance, never did, and it would come with sample data, and to remove it, you would have to find them and blow them away. They weren't even marked as sample. They're just like the first 5 records, and that's how you know. So if I said, yes, proceed, I would remove it from here. It might remove 10 or 20 records, but I don't really want to do that because this is our training database. This is our sample database. However, you're going to want to do this yourself, maybe even before you start using it. I would recommend definitely before you migrate data or import data, you want to remove the samples. Okay? A simple click, and then boom, they're gone. Right? Storage. So we touched on this just a few minutes ago. Storage itself is, it just shows you exactly what's going on in your system, right? Disk space, what's taking up the room, who's taking up the room, how much do I have. This right here, you can see that's 3 gig. That's what that means. I mean, they're saying 3,000 megabytes, but it's 3 gig, if you want to say that. Total use space, okay, between all my accounts, my contacts, my activities, reports that are out there, everything. As you can see, still pretty small. So that's a big piece for everyone to understand, right? Is that it takes a lot to fill up your database. What people don't understand is that data, just little lines and bits of letters and words, really doesn't take up much space, okay? It just doesn't. What really can kill you is the attachments. It's the documents, the attachments. If I was to attach a document right here, let's go ahead and find, I'm going to find my man Dan. Actually, let's do this. Let's go, yeah, I can do this. And I'm going to just attach a document. And if I go here and attach, I do this and I say upload a file. right? I can either click here to drop or bring it in, and if I go here, let's say I upload our, this is our zip file, I'm trying to find something bigger. Well, that's too big, we don't want that. But let's say I do the OBS Studio full installer. Let's say I do that, okay? I can open that up, it's an executable. See, and it doesn't allow me because it's 100 meg is my attachment. So let's do this. Let's find another one. Sorry about that. Let's find something that is, yeah, this is fine. How about a report right here? Open that up. It's uploading 43 meg. Takes a couple seconds. I do have good upload speed, fortunately. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here watching paint dry for a little while. All right, attach that. Now you can see there's my report, right? And that's just in there, and it's 43 meg. Now, let's go back. Look at my data storage. Now, total used space is 49 meg, or 41 meg, right? Total free space went down a good amount. It's because of one attachment, right? Now, that's a pretty big attachment. Don't get me wrong. It's a 40 meg file. That's big. Emails, you're going to do hopefully under a meg. Like PDFs that have a lot of images, you might be doing at the 500K limit, something like that. If you're sending those out as email templates, things along those lines, you're going to want to, be careful about those because they can take up the space. You don't want to store the attachment as part of their history if you're doing an email blast, but anything that comes in, you might be storing those. So you got to be careful. But you saw the big difference between the use space before and after I uploaded that document. That's a big deal. So keep that in mind when you're looking at attachments. Now you start saying, okay, well, I can see here we've got use space. Who is using it? Aha, here it is. Look at that. This guy is using up 41 meg. Right? So you might find that's like doing the email, finding out whose inbox is more full than the other guys. Right? So let's go back to my recently viewed. Go back to Dan. Going to go to Dan's attachments. And I am going to can that guy. I'm just going to delete it. Move it to the recycle bin. I will show you later, because we're going to go to the recycle bin, what that means. So I go to recycle bin. No, I'm just going to go to storage again. Sorry. Go to storage. You can see that. Still big. Okay? Still here. Still the same. Reason why? Because it's in the recycle bin, which we'll get to. Right? But again, all of your users would be listed here. It shows who's using most, what's going on. This is ownership. This might be emails. This might be attachments. Who's doing it? Who's the culprit? That's important for you to know. On to the recycle bin. So if we look at the recycle bin, what is nice is that I know, so like I said before at our talk, we've got about 4 different products that we work with. Okay, we work with Salesforce, we work with Zoho, obviously. We work with Dynamics 365 or Microsoft Dynamics or Microsoft CRM, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing, Microsoft's product, right, for CRM. We also work with Goldmine, which is a little bit older, and Goldmine is a SQL Server backend. It's not cloud, it's just on-premise. Zoho and Salesforce have a recycle bin. Dynamics and Goldmine do not. Dynamics, we get questions all the time, support questions from people that need me to restore a record that someone accidentally deleted. Why? Because they give out delete rights like candy, and they shouldn't. Okay? Delete rights should not be handed out to the common person, non-admins, right? I don't even like it when admins have it, to be honest with you, sometimes, because it's the same idea. If we need to get that back, we got to make sure there's a good SQL Server backup, and then we have to restore it, and then we have to move it in with a query to move it in there. We've got it down to a science if they've got a good backup, but it's still an hour of service, right? It's not good service, is I guess what my point is. It's budget money that I'd rather someone spent on training or development or a report or getting more out of the system. Restoring a record is not good use of the money. Dynamics, we take away all delete rights right away. And what you do is you deactivate records. And that is where you put something in this canister that's kind of out there. No one ever touches it again, but it's still there in case we need it. Because you know the alternative? If I delete a record and I have to call up Microsoft and I have to say I need you to restore a backup for me, and they'll say the most recent backup we have is from 18 hours ago. We can move that in. It's going to take us 6 hours. So you've not only lost the future 6 hours while you're waiting, you're also going to lose the previous 18 hours of work of changes because the only thing they can do is restore it. So you got to really want that record back, right? Zoho, Salesforce, it's a recycle bin. In Salesforce, it's interesting. It's right there. It's clear as day, like where it is. It sits right on the side. The recycle bin here has more of in the setup area, right? So as an admin, I have access to everything that's been deleted. Okay, so if the general user deleted something, I would see it in here. If I deleted something, I would see it in here. If I was the general user, I would only see the things I deleted. Okay, unless sharing is on, and then you might see the other ones if they were under your purview, and then you can see them. Right? But what we've got is they're going to sit here for 60 days, a rolling 60 days. Fine. After that 60 days, it's gone. So you have 2 months to figure out where did that record go and do we need it back, right? Now, if I need it back, all I have to do, right? So it says only users with an administrator profile can delete records. Non-admin users can restore their own, okay? And depending on permissions, they may be able to restore others as well. But restoring your own is what you can do here. Admin can restore and delete everything, right? And again, after 60 days, you're deleted permanently. I think the only way to get it back is possibly from the backup, you know, because remember, not your backup, but remember Zoho is also doing a backup, right? They're doing backups for you nightly, like, or I guess. I mean, I don't even know if it's documented how often they're backing up, but I know they are there. I'm going to see a few of those Zoho people in a couple weeks, so I can ask them, right? So if I do this and I go, you know what, I want to restore that. What I'll do is I check the box and I say restore. Pretty seamless, right? Go back again to Dan. Go to my attachments. There it is again, right? And done. I'm going to do this, and now we're going to delete it again. Move it to the recycle bin. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the recycle bin under setup, and I can see my file in there now. Remember, my storage was not any smaller. So now I'm going to do this. I'm going to say report and delete it. And I'll say, are you sure? Now, the selected entities and their related items will be permanently deleted. Okay, what that means is if you have an opportunity or a deal record and you've got quotes, let's not do that one. That's not a good example. Let's say you've got a quote record that's got quote line items. Okay, well, the quote line items are related through a parent-child relationship. You can't have orphan quote line items without a quote header, right? So if I delete the quote, it's also going to delete those line items. It's a good and a bad. You just got to be careful, okay? If I delete an account, I believe it deletes everything below it. Related contacts, related opportunities, activities, everything. You got to be careful. You won't have a floating contact out there, but that's what it is. I'm going to say yes to this because it's just a report. And I say, okay, it's gone. I go look at my storage. And if you look back, we're back to our 3 gig and only 62K being used. This was 42 gig or 42 meg before, right? So you can see instantly it's gone. We're all saved. Away we go. Okay. Again, any questions throughout any of the stuff we're talking about, please use the chat window on the right. I don't see anything yet, which is fine. Just if I'm being unclear or anything, or you want me to expand on something, just let me know, and we can at least cover it after during the Q&A session. So now we go into the audit log. Audit log is kind of an interesting thing to me. I didn't realize it was here, honestly, and still I kind of was prepping for this class. I mean, I'm a Zoho user, I'm a Zoho trainer. I don't do a lot of development in it, and I don't really get into the nitty-gritty, but this was pretty interesting, right? As to how far I can see everything that's been going on today, right? For instance, I can see here that Kelsey had her class this morning and she was doing mail merge templates. So what she did was she added a mail merge template called customer updates, and she added a mail merge template folder called this. We're talking time, date, everything's out here. You've got the record here. If I click on Dan, it will go back, it will go to Dan. Actually opens it up in a new window. Okay, but you can see what I've got is, okay, what did I do today? Well, I exported leads. Okay, it does not have that I did the backup, which is interesting. I added attachment, I deleted the attachment. I restored the attachment, I deleted again, and then I removed it from the recycle bin. Okay, so you can see this type of thing there, right, is what we're looking at. If I scroll down, I go all the way to the 26th, and then once I get to the bottom, oh, it jumps again, get to the bottom, jumps again, bottom jumps again. I got all the way down. Okay, this will go all the way to July if I wanted to. Now I can export it. Not sure what it looks like when I do this. Let's try it. See what it looks like, because I'm curious. Because this is something that would be useful to certain administrators and all that to keep it. And while it's doing that, we're going to minimize that. And while it's going, that's fine. I can see that. Now, if I want to filter it, which is the funnel, okay, that's becoming the universal symbol for filter, right? If I do this, oh, there it is. I can download it now. There's my audit log. Let's look at this puppy and see how big it is. Very nice. Action, custom field, state, what was it? This is the audit log. So what was it doing? Related name, account name, audited time, and what was the action? Created a field, right? If I wanted to do something like here and do recycle bin delete, right? Find next, again, right? So you can see it looks like it's doing it based on, this is today's August 6th, all the way to October 3rd. What is interesting is that that's all that I have exposed right here, is to August 6th, I think. If I keep going back, that's the August 6th, so that is the beginning of time. I thought I'd go further back, but I do remember we created a separate instance for this. So if I go back to there and we've got, that's our log. Now if I want to do a funnel or a filter, I could say, you know what, I just want, in here, certain entities, and I could search, so I could say leads, right? There's my leads, and then it filters it right away, okay? I could do all users and say, just show me this. Oh, see, look at that. Nikki Kirkland, and I'm going to say all entities here. So we've got TM Live Gen user on September 4th. Send an email and entered the blueprint, right? It even shows what blueprint they're in. If you haven't seen our blueprint class, definitely recommend seeing it. Blueprints are fantastic. Nice little way to guide your users through. It's an admin class, but it's a great, fantastic class. So we've got that, I can sort by that, all actions, added, updated, deleted. If I wanted to see all of my all entities and all users, how many things have been deleted? And who's doing all those deletions, right? I can do it that way. Anytime, last 7 days, last 30 days, specific date range, whatever you want to do. But you can see that, and that's a very nice one to go through and really kind of make sure that you're keeping on track of your users and what they're doing, right? This is all system driven. If you notice, there's no delete on any of these. I cannot delete these audit logs. I can't check them and say remove this. So it is system driven, it's system maintained and created, and you cannot delete. So just keep that in mind, all right? And then finally into our sandbox. Okay, and as we're kind of rounding out the class. So sandbox here, I'm actually going to click the help to, because I'm hoping, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hoping that it kind of determines who's got what. So if I look at the help here, look at a sandbox, how can I create one, who's got one, access, etc., right? Some notes. Sandbox is available in Enterprise and Ultimate only. Okay, so Professional does not have it. Keep that in mind. Okay. What it does is a sandbox is, and then you can add other people and other users. You make it accessible to, right? You add the first name, and we can actually create this to show you what it looks like. But what you end up with is, you add the people, you add your developers, and they're doing the testing in there. And then you can actually go to the sandbox to actually set this up. So what happens is, now what's interesting, I want to kind of see here. See, this is what's more important. I'm going to leave this up on the screen so you can see it while I talk. So a sandbox is, it's for you to play around in, right? That's how they kind of see it, right? That's why it's called that. It's a fairly standard idea across the CRM world, software world, in fact, right? You could have an ERP sandbox. You could have a sandbox for your accounting program, your inventory maintenance, your CRM, or anything else, right? Anything you're doing development in, you can have a sandbox. And a sandbox is essentially, it's where you play around until you're really set to go. And you could recreate it every time if you want, right? What it does when you first create it is it makes a copy of your existing production database, your instance, the design of it, and it moves it in the sandbox so you can make changes to it and say, okay, how do I do this? I want to test things around. I want to create a blueprint, see if it works, and then launch it. Well, that's what's called deployment, right? So you have deploy the changes to production. So here you've got this, and then you can do it in the change set. You can see what they've got as an image here as certain things that I've done. And what you'll do is you'll say deploy those changes, and it will migrate those customizations to your production instance, is what it is, right? And so if I do this here and I look at this and it says deploy all its changes, partially you check the box of what you do want to migrate and deploy, and then it goes through here and it says what happened. Now your conflicts are because something wasn't there, right? Like it was missing a parent item, right? You didn't build that contact lookup field or something like that in there, okay? But there's a lot going in here, and you've got the logs about how it deployed, and then you refresh. Now, when your sandbox is not in sync, okay, well that's a problem, right? So what you want to do is you want to refresh your sandbox, and to refresh it, what it will do, it will see, it says you can only refresh it once every 30 days. Okay, it's going to be updated the latest settings, meaning that any new development that someone did inside production and didn't do in the sandbox first will be moved over into the sandbox. The reason why they only allow it once a month is because your developers, if you're doing a lot of development, you should be doing it in your sandbox, testing, and then moving it into production. Now, any implementation, your first startup, you're not going to be doing that, but that's just something to keep in mind when you're talking about sandbox, okay? And then you can always deactivate it, right? So now, let me go here. So if I was to create a new sandbox, I would do that. I'd say test sandbox, I'm going to say class 209 sandbox, right? Description, created as part of class 209 on October 3rd, 2018. Okay, accessible to me and that both, and I create it. And now what you've got, it's being created, it'll be ready soon. I'm going to get an email when it does come in, and it is actually there, okay, when it's ready to go. I'm actually looking here to see if I can see this. All right, let me see. I do not see it just yet. Sandbox created an account successfully. They told me there, and I did get the email as well, right here. Sandbox created successfully. That's me. Good. So now I can actually go to my sandbox if I want. Okay, and then now you can see it's crmsandboxzoho.com, and the login is different. Even gives you a little flag up here that you're in the sandbox. Okay, now do I have any records in here? No. Right? I don't have them. Okay, so I can create test records, but you're not bringing them all in. You could import them like a subset, that'd be fine, but you can see that it's very different, right? If I go to my storage here, you see the tab is black. If I go to my storage here for my sandbox, it's the same thing, right? Nothing's really being used, all right? And I do have that limit as well, so to be careful, right? So that's your sandbox. Now, if I refresh it, that's what it will do, right? I'm going to actually, we're going to click into here and do sandbox. And so now you would have, if I go to the sandbox here, I'm going to actually go into a module. Let's just go to modules. Let's go to leads, and we're going to add a new field to the standard layout, right? And we're going to add in like a checkbox, right? It would be here, and I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to put it right at the bottom here. We're going to call it vendor with a question mark. Now, I don't know if this is a great idea or not. I'm just going to do save and close. The only reason I want to do that is because I want to go back to my sandbox here. I'm going to refresh this, refresh the page by clicking it, and see that? Now what I can do is I made a change to the layout, and I added the fields. Okay, so I didn't really change the standard layout, but I did here. So what I'm going to do is that, and I'm going to deploy changes to production. And by doing that, I'm going to move my field right in. Okay, now is it linked? Where's this linked? What's this say? So what's it say? It's linked to the standard layout, right? So do I need to update the layout? Possibly, right? That's one thing that I'm not really sure about, like if I'm doing deployment, if I have to. So here's my workflows, refresh, deactivate. I'll have to look that up to see if I have to. Because in this case here, we're talking about the deployment. I would say workflow fields. I think you'd have to, because it would have to know where it is. I'm actually going to say yes. I'm going to err on this. I'm going to look this up while we're offline. But I'm thinking that, yeah, you have to, because if I don't, it's going to conflict because the standard layout is not there, right? Actually, let me just do that. I'll deploy changes and see what happens. It says it went, and I say yes, proceed. And now when this happens and we go to my production instance, which I'm in, I'm going to now go to the lead area. Deployment in progress. We're going to wait for a minute or two. Okay, and then it's saved to the production account. So now let's go look and see what we've got. The layout's still not there, and that's what actually concerns me. So if I go look at ZZ test, is that vendor field there? And it is. My hunch was that it was going to be in the unused fields. Like we created the field in the database, but the standard layout isn't there. So that would be what it is. So it does show up, and it looks like it is checkable. Right, and check it and save it, right? And away we go. And so that's our field. So that's fine. And then if we really want to kind of round out today's class, if I go to the audit log, you can see there that I updated a lead. I added a custom field right there. And the asterisk was changes made and deployed from the sandbox. So I was a good boy and I did it there. Okay? And that's what it is. I created the sandbox, I deployed a sandbox change, and what the change was this. Right? So all in there. Okay, so that's it for now. I am going to look into that. I'm going to look into this now to see what's kind of going on. But let me know again if there's any questions. Okay, I'm going to just look at the chat if there's anything out there. It doesn't look like there is right now. So we go back to any questions at this point. Before I get to the QA. I did just want to kind of say, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, first and foremost. If you do want to leave early, Be sure to check out our calendar, the other upcoming classes, sign up for those. You can RSVP on those. It will send you an iCal or will send you a calendar appointment. You could have on your calendar with a link to the document, okay? Any suggestions for other classes? Please let us know. Email is support@marksgrouplive.com, okay? You can also get me at Corey@marksgroup.net, but support@marksgrouplive.com goes to me and the team. If you cannot stick around for the Q&A session, totally understand. You can drop off at this point. Appreciate you coming, and then we're going to go. We're going to go on. If you can't, like I said, if you can't hang out, you do have other questions. Send your questions to support@marksgrouplive.com, or you can also click on the chat function, which is on every page on the main site, and you can actually start a text with someone, a private chat that way. All right. So go in here. So our Q&A section. So if you don't mind, I mean, usually I would review. I kind of already did. There are no questions at this point, but I'm going to leave the chat open and let you just kind of use the time now. As they say, the time is yours, right? To go over this out and about and come up with your questions and where are we and what do we want to do. We're going to, like I said, feel free to use this. Next couple minutes, if you have any questions, throw them out there. All right, well, there we go. So I'm going to sit back, let the chats come in, and if there's no chatting going on in the next 20 minutes, half hour, I'll probably close the class a little bit early. But otherwise, like I said, the time is yours, and I'll just sit back and wait for them to roll in. Thanks, folks. I'll actually, I just said thanks, folks, and I'm going to sit back. I'm going to actually look that part up about the filter or the standard layout to see if I have to move that from deployment as well or why I don't. All right, thanks. So just real quick, folks, I wanted to let you know that I did research this just a little bit, just offhand. I'm not finding why the layout would be there for me to move to production. So just real quick, if it's not, it's a little bit confusing for me because I know the field came through. It's there, it's on the layout. I guess by default, I would just say, let's move the layout just in case. I didn't really make any changes to the standard layout except adding that new field, but then when I add the new field, it did add to the standard layout. Maybe it's positioning is there. I really can't find why it would be there. I guess by default, like I said, I would err on the side of moving everything. If you do want your sandbox and production to be in sync, I think that's the safest way to do it as well. So that's what I'm just going to kind of leave it at that and say yes. When in doubt, let's move as much as we can. But it looks like that field will come over and be there even if you don't move the layout as I showed you earlier. Okay, so that's it. Again, keep the questions coming. If there's anything else, I'll let you know, or I'll try and get my answers as soon as I can.